My sister always loved an audience. Even when we were kids, she didn't just win, she made sure everyone saw me lose. She was the golden one, the shining star, the family's pride. I was the quiet one, the background character, the one they treated like an inconvenience they had to tolerate. It didn't matter what I achieved. If I earned something, she called it luck. If I struggled, she called it proof. By the time we were adults, humiliation had become her hobby. She started a tech startup in her mid-20s. At first it was small, but our parents acted like she had invented fire. "She's changing the world," my mother would whisper proudly. I smiled and nodded, staying out of the spotlight, because that was my role, the supportive sister who never made waves. But what none of them knew was that I wasn't in the background at all. I was watching, building, preparing. I worked quietly in finance for years. I didn't post flashy vacations or throw launch parties. I invested. And I learned one truth early: people who underestimate you do half your work for you. Her startup began attracting attention. Investors, press, awards. With every headline, her ego swelled. Then came the day she decided I would be her next public performance. It happened at a family dinner, one of those forced gatherings where everyone pretends they're close while secretly keeping score. She arrived late wearing designer confidence like armor, kissed our mother's cheek, ignored me, and sat down like the table belonged to her. Dad raised his glass proudly, toasting her latest funding round. Everyone clapped. She smiled like a queen receiving tribute, then slowly turned her eyes toward me. "Well," she said, dragging out the word, "she's here too." The room chuckled politely. She leaned forward. "So tell me, what exactly do you do these days?" Her tone wasn't curiosity. It was bait. My mother answered vaguely, calling it something with numbers. My sister laughed loudly. "Wow, inspiring." Dad smiled awkwardly. She tilted her head. "No offense, but you've always been kind of invisible." I felt my stomach tighten, not from the insult but from the familiarity. She'd been doing this my whole life. Then she reached into her purse and pulled out a thick white envelope, placing it on the table like evidence. "Actually," she said brightly, "I brought something tonight." Everyone leaned in. Her grin sharpened. "I hired a private investigator." The room froze. $12,000, she announced proudly. Our parents stared, stunned. She nodded like it was worth it. I was curious, she continued, eyes on me. "You always act so calm, like you're above it all. So I thought maybe you're hiding something." She opened the envelope and pulled out a report, dozens of pages. Then she looked around the table. "This is proof," she said sweetly, "that she is nobody." Silence. She flipped through pages like a prosecutor. No major assets, no properties, no big promotions, just a boring employee doing boring work. She dropped the report in front of me. "Congratulations," she whispered, "you're exactly what we thought." My mother sighed with strange relief. Dad nodded as if this confirmed something he wanted to believe. My sister leaned back. "I'm the only one in this family building something real." Then she looked at me with glittering cruelty. "Stop pretending you have money. We all know the truth." Dad chuckled. "She's just worried about you." She raised her glass. "To the family success story." Everyone clinked glasses. Except me. I sat perfectly still, not angry, not shaking, just clear. She thought this dinner was her victory lap. She had no idea it was her last comfortable night. Because while she spent $12,000 trying to prove I was nothing, she never once asked herself why someone with nothing could be so calm. I looked at her report, then at her face, then I smiled. Her expression flickered. "What?" she snapped. I folded my hands. "Fascinating," I said quietly. She narrowed her eyes. "What's fascinating?" I leaned forward slightly. "I just realized, you have no idea who your silent partner is." She laughed sharply. "Don't embarrass yourself." I didn't blink. I opened my phone, tapped one number saved without a name, and pressed call. The line rang once, twice. A calm voice answered. I spoke softly. "It's time." Her smile died instantly. "What is this?" she demanded. I looked directly at her. "Recall the capital," I said. The voice didn't hesitate. "Understood. Withdrawal begins immediately." The air turned to ice. My sister shot up from her chair. "No, no." Dad stood too. "What did you just do?" I ended the call. Her breathing turned jagged. "You can't do that." I tilted my head. "Can't I?" She slapped the report against the table. "You're nobody. I have proof." I smiled. "That's the problem. You paid $12,000 to investigate my life, and you still couldn't afford to discover the truth." My mother whispered my name. Dad's face went pale. My sister shook her head violently. "Impossible." I sat back, calm as stone, and said the words that split the family apart. I'm the silent partner your startup depends on. Her mouth opened. Nothing came out. Dad looked like he'd been punched. My mother's hand flew to her chest. And then my sister's phone began to ring, over and over, violently. She glanced at the screen. Her face turned to paper. Because the caller ID read, Legal Department, Emergency. Her company was already collapsing. And this was only the beginning. Her phone kept ringing like an alarm that wouldn't stop. She stared at the screen, frozen, as if refusing to answer could delay reality. Dad's voice rose, sharp with confusion. Pick it up. What is it? My sister's fingers trembled as she finally pressed accept. Hello? Her voice cracked. A muffled voice exploded through the speaker, urgent and panicked. We have a crisis. The primary capital line was just recalled. The account access is being revoked. Legal is asking what happened. My sister's face drained of all color. That's not possible, she whispered, more to herself than anyone. The voice on the phone didn't care about denial. It's happening right now. The Silent Partners Fund is pulling out. If we don't secure replacement financing within hours, payroll won't clear, vendors will freeze, and the next round collapses. The word collapses hit the room like a gunshot. Dad stepped forward, anger flashing. Silent partner? What are they talking about? My sister's lips parted, but nothing came out. My mother's hands fluttered near her mouth. What is going on? My sister swallowed hard, forcing control. I'll handle it, she snapped into the phone, trying to regain authority. Call the board. Call everyone. This is a mistake. She ended the call and whipped toward me, eyes wild. What did you do? I didn't raise my voice. I didn't move. I simply looked at her like I was finally seeing her clearly too. I did exactly what you wanted, I said calmly. I proved something. Her chest heaved. Proved what? Dad's voice boomed. Enough riddles. Explain. My mother's eyes shone with fear. Please, what is happening? My sister slammed her palms on the table. This is insane. You can't be the silent partner. You don't even have. She stopped mid-sentence, realizing she was about to say the same cruel thing again. You don't even have anything. But the room was different now. The cruelty didn't sound powerful anymore. It sounded foolish. I leaned forward slightly. You paid $12,000 to investigate me, I said softly. You searched for noise. For flashy proof. For something you could laugh at. My sister's voice trembled. So tell me what's real. Dad snapped. Stop playing games. I exhaled slowly. Real is quiet, I said. Real doesn't announce itself at family dinners. My sister shook her head violently. No, you're lying. This is some stunt. Dad pointed at me, furious. How dare you do this to your sister? I tilted my head. Do what? I asked. Stop being useful? My mother's voice cracked. Please. We're family. Family. The word tasted hollow. My sister paced like a trapped animal. This is my company, she hissed. My life. My future. I watched her. You mean the future you built on people you never respected, I said. Her eyes flashed. I built it from nothing. I nodded. So did I. Silence. Dad scoffed, disbelieving. From what? You never told us anything. I smiled faintly. You never asked. My sister stopped pacing. Her voice turned sharp again, desperation sharpening into fury. Why would you do this now? Tonight? I answered honestly. Because tonight you decided to make me your entertainment. Tonight you decided to prove I was nobody in front of everyone you care about. Dad's voice shook with rage. You should be grateful. We supported you. I looked at him, calm and steady. You tolerated me, I corrected. There's a difference. My sister's phone rang again. She flinched like it burned. Another call. Another emergency. She answered, voice tight. What? The person on the other end was louder now, frantic. We have vendors refusing delivery unless payments are guaranteed. The bank wants confirmation. The board is demanding answers. Who is the silent partner? Why are they pulling out? My sister's eyes flicked toward me, terrified. She covered the phone. Stop this, she whispered harshly. Please, just stop. I'll apologize. I'll do anything. The shift was almost grotesque. Hours ago, she was laughing with a report in her hand. Now she was bargaining. Dad stared at her. Apologize? For what? My mother whispered, what silent partner? My sister's voice was shaking. It's complicated. Dad snapped, nothing is complicated. Tell me what's happening. My sister turned on him, screaming. It's happening because you all thought she was nothing. The room froze. Even she looked stunned by her own words. My mother's face crumpled. Dad's anger faltered into confusion. My sister realized what she had admitted. That she had built her confidence on my invisibility. She swallowed hard and lowered the phone. Listen, she said into it, voice barely holding. Buy me time. I'll fix it. She ended the call. Her eyes found mine again, stripped of arrogance. How? She whispered. How are you the silent partner? I didn't answer immediately. I let the silence stretch, because for once, silence belonged to me, not them. Then I spoke. 3 years ago, your startup was weeks from dying, I said quietly. My sister stiffened. That's not true. I nodded. It is. You didn't know because you were too busy posing for investors. Dad frowned. My mother's eyes widened. I continued. The only reason you survived that first winter was because an anonymous fund injected capital through a private vehicle. My sister's breath hitched. That was a blessing, she whispered. I smiled. It was me. Dad's face twisted. No. My mother whispered. Why would you? I looked at her. Because I believed family meant protecting each other, even when you didn't protect me. My sister's shoulders shook. You funded me? I nodded once. Quietly. Without credit. Without applause. Because I didn't want to be you. My sister's voice broke. Then why pull out now? I leaned forward slightly. Because you wanted proof I was nobody, I said. So tonight, I finally agreed. Dad slammed his fist again. This is madness. Fix it. Put it back. My sister snapped. You don't understand. It can't just be put back. She turned to me, tears now threatening. Please, she whispered. If you do this, I lose everything. I studied her face, the same face that had smiled while humiliating me. You lose a company, I said softly. I lost years. The room went still. My mother began to sob quietly. Dad's voice shook. What do you want? The question hung heavy. My sister's breath stopped. And in that moment, they all realized something terrifying. They had spent so long treating me like nothing, they never imagined the day would come when they would have to ask me for something. I stood slowly, calm. I don't want revenge, I said. I want truth. My sister whispered, what truth? I looked directly at her. The truth is you didn't build anything alone, I said. And the truth is, the silent partner was never silent because I was weak. My voice lowered. I was silent because you didn't deserve to hear me. My sister's phone rang again. She didn't answer. She just stared at me, trembling, as the sound echoed through the house like judgment. Outside, the world was moving forward. Inside, her empire was unraveling. And the night was far from over. The ringing finally stopped, not because the crisis had ended, but because my sister's phone battery died under the weight of panic. The silence that followed was worse than any sound. It forced everyone at the table to face what was happening without distractions, without excuses, without someone else's voice to blame. My sister stood frozen, staring at the dark screen like it was a death certificate. Dad's anger had nowhere to go now. Mom's sobs were small and helpless. And I felt something I hadn't expected. Not satisfaction, not cruelty, just clarity. My sister swallowed hard. Please, she whispered again, voice breaking. Just tell me what you want. I'll fix it. I'll make it right. Make it right. The phrase sounded almost funny. You can't make years of dismissal right in one night. Dad stepped forward, trying to reclaim authority. Enough. This has gone far enough. Put the money back. This is family business. Family business. That was the closest he'd ever come to admitting family was transactional to him. I looked at him steadily. You didn't call it family when she mocked me, I said quietly. Dad's face tightened. That was a joke. I didn't blink. Then why did it hurt? Silence. My mother's voice trembled. We didn't know you were capable of something like this. Capable. As if my worth began the moment it benefited them. I exhaled slowly. You didn't know because you didn't care to know, I said. My sister's shoulders shook. I didn't understand, she whispered. I thought you were just quiet. I nodded once. I was quiet so you could be loud, I said. I was quiet so you could feel bigger. Her lips trembled. Why did you help me at all? The question was raw now, stripped of arrogance. I paused, then answered honestly. Because I wanted to believe I had a family, I said softly. Mom's sob turned sharper. Dad looked away. My sister whispered, and now? I met her eyes. Now I'm done believing without proof, I said. She stepped closer, desperate. If you don't restore the funding, the company collapses by morning. Dad snapped, she can't do that. This is insane. I tilted my head. She already did, I said calmly. Dad's face went pale. He finally understood what power looked like when it wasn't his. My sister's voice cracked. Employees, people depend on me. I nodded. People depended on me too, I replied. To take your insults. To absorb your laughter. To stay small. The room was still. Then my sister sank into her chair like her bones had failed her. I didn't think you mattered, she whispered, devastated. The honesty was ugly, but at least it was honest. I took a slow breath. That's what you paid $12,000 to confirm, I said. Dad's voice rose, trembling now with fear instead of anger. So what? You destroy her? You destroy all of us? I looked at him. You destroyed me quietly for years, I said. I'm just refusing quietly now. My mother whispered, please, don't do something you'll regret. I stared at her for a long moment. I regret staying silent for so long, I said. Another silence. Then my sister lifted her head, eyes glassy. Is there any way back? The question wasn't about money anymore. It was about dignity, about whether the world could ever return to the version where she was the star and I was the shadow. I answered calmly. Not to what it was, I said. Dad scoffed weakly. So what are you going to do? Take over? Punish her forever? I shook my head. I'm not you, I said. My sister flinched. I continued. I'm not going to ruin people for entertainment. I'm going to do what you should have done from the start. Dad frowned. What's that? I leaned forward slightly, voice steady. I'm going to set terms. My sister swallowed. Terms? I nodded. The silent partner withdraws unless governance changes, I said. No more private control. No more ego-only decisions. Independent oversight. Dad snapped. You're forcing yourself into her business. I looked at him. I was already in it, I replied. You just never noticed. My sister whispered, you'd come back? I studied her face. The same face that had smiled while humiliating me. Now stripped bare. Not as your shadow, I said. As an equal. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't deserve that. I paused. Then, quietly, no, I agreed. You don't. She sobbed harder. Dad's voice cracked. Then why? I exhaled. Because employees don't deserve to suffer for your arrogance, I said. And because I refuse to become the cruelty that raised me. The words settled heavy. My sister nodded shakily, humiliation and relief mixing. I'll do it, she whispered. Whatever you want. I stood slowly. Not whatever I want, I corrected. Whatever is right. Dad looked like he didn't know who I was anymore. Mom stared at me as if seeing me for the first time. And that was the strangest part. I hadn't changed overnight, they had simply never looked. The next morning, her board received a formal notice, capital restored under new oversight. The silent partner was no longer a ghost. Rumors spread. Investors asked questions. My sister's empire didn't collapse, but it was forced to grow up. Months later, at another family dinner, there were no envelopes. No jokes. No performances. Just quiet respect, earned through consequence. My sister didn't become kind overnight. People rarely do. But she became careful. And sometimes, that's where change begins. As for me, I stopped sitting in rooms where my dignity was optional. I stopped proving myself to people who only understood power. Because the real lesson wasn't that I owned something they wanted. The real lesson was this. The person you call nobody is often the one holding the foundation of everything you stand on. And when they finally stand up, the whole room goes silent.